I do in a way blame him for not being a bit helping me a bit more, but I mostly blame myself. I don't blame myself either, because at the end of the day, you just do what you do,
Yeah.
and some of us maybe have a greater knack for being things like commercial or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that it's the journey that's important. It's
Yes.
not the results, it's the journey. It's being a writer or an artist or a musician or whatever, or even if not that, a doctor or whatever you want, whatever it is. That's the important thing, is being that, not necessarily how in quotation marks how successful you are in other
Well,
people's eyes.
when you say the results, I have a feeling that you mean recognition, more about being validated by
Yes,
others, tapped on the back and awarded and so on. Is it what you mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. If you are driving your aspiration just to um, satisfy others, it doesn't make sense, because then you are not being yourself. You are just trying to come up with a character that will be accepted and will be successful, but not in the manner you desire. So you are just outsourcing your skills, your abilities to a social circle. And that's not real. That doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, like you can get all the prizes, all the money, if there's money on the table. But when you put your head on the pillow, you're not happy with yourself. So what's the point?
Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that it is important, and it's something that all artists would like and want. So it's not that I'm not saying it's not important. It shouldn't be pursued which they do. It's just that there is something else along with that.
Yeah,
There's something going on, because if you just say that is the only thing that matters,
yeah,
you end up really just producing things that have no meaning, that are
mhm,
completely hollow.
yeah.
So
There is a
some
there is
some
a
some
there's a
artists are
middle
lucky
ground.
and
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
artists are lucky and good, and they can combine both. They can
Yes,
produce stuff that's worthwhile and be commercially, say, successful.
yeah,
Some,
yeah,
but there are not many. There's not many of them.
yeah,
More often the case is you produce things that are worthwhile, but nobody wants to read them or look at them, or you produce stuff that isn't worthwhile and it's a bestseller or whatever, but it's, excuse my language, it's rubbish.
it's rubbish.
You
Yeah,
know, so
I agree.
so it's up to do both is very difficult.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, and I think that applies to many things, because to do both is always the challenge. Because you can do one in many other environments, in many other fields and sectors, but if you want to do both, that's where the challenge is. Like, let's say, I find the same challenges. Let's say, pursuing my artistic career and being a good friend and being a good partner and being a good son and being
Uh-huh.
a good neighbor, because if it's very easy when you
Uh-huh.
follow only one route. Let's say I want to put all my eggs in the basket of being a good friend, and all I care is how my friends are. I'm always available for a drink, but then I don't care about my things. I don't care about my work, let's say. So when you spread yourself among a few categories, that's where the challenge starts.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah. It's true. I mean, but anyway, we have to. It's in the end of the day when you start to get to my age, you just begin to realize that it's all fading. It's all fading, and what you think is hugely important isn't so important anymore, because it's all gonna fade.
What was the
So
thing,
so
Rupert? Sorry, I didn't want to ask you this. just came to my mind, and I saw people asking others this. What was the thing that when you were younger, you thought it was very relevant, and as you age, you realize it's not?
Well, I was far more radical when I was younger. You know, I mean, when I grew up as a kid in Ecuador, you know, you always although I came from my parents became quite prosperous with time, but they weren't at the beginning, and but we were foreigners, and and compared to the indigenous population of Ecuador, of course we were super rich, although we weren't. But I was still aware of the discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
So you naturally have a kind of a, I did anyway, a kind of, I was always on the side of the poor and so on. And then when I was a teenager, being an anarchist and radical, I was totally against the system, you know. But when I started to change, you know, I mentioned that incident in the restaurant in Belgium, which is very important for me because I think from then I started to change a wee bit in the way I saw people, and
What age were you when that story in the restaurant?
I was probably about
happened?
19, 20.
1920. Okay.
And I started to see things that it wasn't necessarily what you saw that was as an appearance was important, but what people carried inside, that was really the important thing, what a person carries inside of them, you know. And so my idea started to change. But over time, yeah, I've moved a bit to the right. I think that happens to a lot of people, you know, as they get older. They start left and they move to the right.